Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to what I believe may be our last meeting before Christmas of Meaford Council. I'm going to call us to order and invite you to join us in standing, if you're able, for O Canada. And I'm going to invite Councillor Ennis to read our land acknowledgement. I can.
We would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nations and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation. We also recognize the Métis, whose ancestors shared this land and these waters. We extend our gratitude to all Anishinaabe and Métis peoples and their descendants, past, present, and future, who continue to care for and inhabit these lands and tend to these waters.
Thank you, Councillor. And now I'll just invite you to join me for a moment of silent reflection on our business today. Thank you. Looking around the horseshoe for any acknowledgement of pecuniary interest in our business today. I see none, but if it, yes, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will be declaring on the report 10A, the Rotary Club Facility Use Agreement, as I am a Rotarian.
Right, thank you. Do we have any announcements today? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, we can never let announcements go by. I just thought I'd take a moment to say how great our municipality looks and to thank staff for the lights and the wreaths downtown. I think Meaford really looks fantastic this year. And that being said, I would also like to take a moment to thank all of our listeners for being with us and to suggest to everyone to support our local businesses as much as you can this year. We have terrific little shops in our downtown and some in our rural areas as well. And as small business owners, they could all really use a little boost at Christmas time. So I strongly encourage everyone as they're doing their holiday shopping to think about our local businesses and support them any chance you get. Thank you.
Any others? I just say maybe I could contribute that I think that Grey County last week passed one of the most important measures of the term, and that was to establish a memorandum of understanding with each of the 9 first tiers, because the county is really in the forefront of economic development. And they treat all of the first tiers the same way. But it's especially important for us in as much as we've added some industrial land to in a recent acquisition. And I think that we will be working very closely with Grey County to try and spur economic development in the municipality of Meaford. So I'm very pleased with that direction that Grey County is giving us. And if there are no other announcements at this side, anyone on the other side have something? Councilor, or at least CAO Everett?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would like just to thank staff for the ability to transition to a pretty early winter this year. So we've been able to hit the ground running and respond to some significant snowfalls. So I just want to thank staff for making that transition as quickly and effectively as they have, and look forward to having a good and safe winter season.
Thank you. Well, we'll move on then to public participation, and I'll remind you that members of the public are always encouraged to provide council with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with legislative services before the agenda is released and are limited to 10 minutes. If a member of the public wishes to make a deputation on items on the council agenda or to ask a public question, you can do that either in person at the council chambers or remotely via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to make a deputation or ask a public question must register in advance with legislative services by 10 in the morning on the day of the meeting. And you can do that by contacting Deputy Clerk at meaford.ca or calling 519-538-1060, extension 1110. An email with access information will be sent to those who register for remote participation. Deputations are limited to 5 minutes and public questions are limited to 2 minutes. And a reminder, the public can watch this meeting live via the Municipality of Meaford's YouTube channel, www.meaford.ca/YouTube. And I believe we have 2 presentations today, and so I'm going to call on Mary Solomon, Wendy Best, and Stu Hiltz to speak to us on accessibility entrance ways on Sykes Street. Mary, take it away. And let's turn her mic on there.
Thank you for having us today. And Wendy Best is with me. Stu Hiltz, unfortunately, Meaford Moves does not run on Mondays, so he did not have transportation here today. And I'd like to also acknowledge Heather Murray, who's on the Accessibility Committee. So in the fall, Wendy Best, Stu Hiltz, it was actually Stu's idea, we decided to do an informal assessment or really just viewing entrances on the 2 blocks of downtown Meaford in the downtown area. And it was interesting. We weren't doing anything. It was not very, what can I say, comprehensive. We just looked at it and could a wheelchair get in the door? We didn't look at whether there were door openers. We didn't look at what people were doing with merchandise once you get inside the door, which often blocks people. We just looked, could you get in the door? And we really did this because even though private entrances are not the municipality's mandate, but tourism is, economic development is, just well-being for the citizens is. So we were thinking, was there anything we could do and that would increase and help those businesses that are inaccessible? So it was interesting. I think Meaford was doing much better than we thought. The majority of especially service-oriented entrances were all accessible. The group that were not accessible were the restaurants. And it was interesting because it turned out to be I'm just 3 out of 9 had a level entrance. So that meant 9 of the ones just on that street did not have level entrances. So I'm just going to take you through what we looked at here. Am I going the right way here? Okay, so this is what we considered a level or ramp entrance, just so you'll be oriented to what we did. And so those would be great. This is a small rise threshold. So if you had someone who had someone with you or you're an everyday wheelchair user and can do a little bit of a wheelie, you could get into these entrances. These ones were what we called small step entrances. So they would be difficult for someone, again, in a wheelchair, rollator, anything like that to get into, probably need a little bit of help. And these were the ones with multiple steps or huge steps that definitely, if you were going to even try, you would definitely need help. Most people wouldn't even try. The patios, because we did this at the end of the summer, actually, especially for one of the restaurants, the patio, well, actually both these restaurants, the patios really are the only way of being accessible. And so, you know, people plan to come there in the summer because they really can't easily get in any other time. And I was thinking this morning, I should have mentioned, but you can see we did this in the end of summer, first of fall. If we went and did the same sort of audit now, we'd have to take into consideration the snow, which decreases everybody's mobility. And the other thing we looked at was, we looked at this, the library is such a good example of wonderful accessibility, but we actually watched Stu get out of the van, and as he came in the offloading area, but as he came around, he hit the curb because there is no way to tell the difference of the curb and the normal or just the pavement there. So it suddenly made us think, wow, you know, that's something we need to look at. And some of our intersections, I think we need to probably have a focus group of those in wheelchairs, rollators, strollers, because some of our actual intersections are pretty dangerous if you're in a wheelchair. And Stu, for one, has to actually take a different route home to miss some of the downtown intersections because he's almost been hit a few times or has hit some part of the curb that is not flat. So I'm just going to leave that up there and just tell you, as I said, we were extremely pleased with the number of entrances that were accessible, but there's no information if you're not. There's no information on the window to say, how can I access your business? And as we said, we were doing minimal requirements. So we really felt that the municipality should be an active leader in this to facilitate accessibility. And it does have a good reputation for accessibility. Look at Meaford Hall, the library, unbelievable. But the downtown area itself is not that great. And so we're sort of suggesting some ideas that maybe could be taken for both the accessibility committee and for the town. We think one of the things we heard from one of the store owners was Heritage Committee turned down the accessibility plan for their building. That wasn't right. They didn't, it was not turned down. That was kind of a rumor through different store owners of that, but not the building owners. But we need to really work closely with Heritage and other committees to make sure accessibility is paramount. We could advise on the economic benefits. There's huge economic benefits for being accessible. And also, we could be the repository of best practices in small towns. And how do we make it more accessible to people? We really feel we need to ensure that new businesses or projects, as well as existing businesses, are reminded about the municipal support for accessibility. So this may be that reminders go out when people apply for permits, building permits, especially ones that are going to be commercial. Have a resource page on our website to connect businesses and events to appropriate credible material. Share funding opportunities such as the Meaford Facade Fund. I mean, that's great fun for trying to be accessible. But there's also new municipal, provincial, and federal strategies and funding such as the Enable Opportunities, Ontario's Rural Economic Development Strategy that we should be tapping into. And we also wondered whether it would be an idea to consider a municipal accessible subsidy prioritizing tourism venues. So because tourism is one of the things Meaford is pretty good at. And again, there's nothing worse than arriving at some place and you can't get in. So we think that may be something that could be looked at. And we'd like to encourage, again, we tried this a few years ago, doing the stopgap ramps, but things are much better now. They're lighter, so that if it is actually a building that's going to be almost impossible to make accessible, that maybe we can look at doing stopgap. And there are a variety of ramps that we can look at that would really help and not be a hindrance to those on the sidewalk. And we would like that all business, tourism, and special events directories mention accessibility. Many of ours do not. So whether it's putting something in the preface saying, if you want to find out about accessibility, please call these people. As far as I'm concerned, we should be like the Wine Growers of Ontario, who have one of the best accessible guides for going to wineries within Ontario. You just open it up, it shows you right there what the accessibility is like. And I think that would really, really help people coming. Because as I said, we've been turned away a number of times because we thought it was accessible and it's not. So this means working with the Chamber of Commerce, Meaford Downtown, to really look at how we can collaborate in making things more accessible. And we would encourage also to look at becoming more literate with accessibility. So there's things like the BIA Accessibility Handbook, dementia-friendly communities, even our own Christmas on the Bay welcoming spaces DEI resource has lots of stuff. You don't have to go look this up on your own. And the Big Idea, which is a firm out of Toronto. So in conclusion, we think accessibility is a major concern for the citizens. And the municipality of Meaford has an increasing senior population. We have at least 5 group homes, numerous adult day programs, as well as children and adults with disabilities living and working in our community. Access should be a priority, especially if we want people to shop and do business locally. And we know our municipality has demonstrated its ability to support and implement great accessible venues and spaces, as I mentioned before, the library and Meaford Hall. And we really like to rekindle that flame of determination for our downtown area to make it more accessible. I think that's it.
Thank you, Mary, very
Thank
much.
you.
Would
Oh,
anyone-
I'm sorry. This was one of our next steps. I almost forgot about it. It's called Access Now, and Wendy and Stu went and marked the accessibility of places in those 2 blocks that we did. Meaford, and this is a provincial resource, so it's a worldwide resource, yeah. So it really does, be interesting to take that template and keep looking at it and see if we can change those that aren't accessible to being accessible within the next few years. Because face it, people my age, we have increasing disabilities, but we like to have fun and like to travel. So I think it would really do a lot for Meaford to really look again into accessibility.
I noticed some staff taking copious notes as you spoke, so that's important. Anyone wish to? I'm sure that Councillor Greenfield will want to congratulate them, and
Thanks, Your Worship, through you. Thanks so much, Mary, and Wendy and Heather and all members of the Accessibility Committee. But this is a good presentation. I'm so glad you came forward with this. It'd be great to have this map with complete thumbs up on every location. You've brought a lot of things to the council chamber that I'm not sure if everyone was aware of. Certainly those who are watching us through the live stream. I think it'll have an impact on a great many people in our municipality. I just want to say that it's been a pleasure for me to be able to work with such an active, dedicated, community-minded accessibility committee. We have some wonderful people on that committee, and they're doing a great job. And keep in front of us. Keep be in our face. That's nothing matter with that. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mary, for being here, and Wendy and Heather for your support. Mary, you're an incredible advocate for accessibility, and we so appreciate all the work that you do. And I think it's important to mention, I mean, we've looked at these entrances and thinking about wheelchairs and rollators and so on, but am I correct in saying the reality is that 1 in 5 persons have some sort of a disability? So there's a lot of additional work that can be done, and how timely that you have the president of the chamber sitting right behind you. I heard you mention signage, and maybe that's a project that would be appropriate for the chamber to consider. But I thought I'd also share that our Rotary Thrift Shop is fully accessible, and with the push button and an accessible washroom and an elevator and a ramp and everything. And we have done a significant amount of that work through grants. So there are grants available, and I wonder if businesses, you know, are aware of that, or if that's something else that perhaps your committee or the chamber could assist businesses with to help them navigate those waters. So a tremendous amount of work has been done, and there's still work to do, Mary. And thank you so much for all of your advocacy again, and your efforts to make Meaford fully accessible. We will get there.
Thank you. I did miss one point, sorry, just when you were saying that, is our accessibility recognition program, I don't think it really needs to be promoted, because we have some great spots that are accessible, and I think sometimes you get those good examples out there. It really reinforces it, plus it gives another place that wants to be accessible someone they can go and ask, how did you guys do that? So, and sorry, I meant to mention that.
Sure. And Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mary. I hope you don't mind us just referring to yourself as Mary straight up, because
at
you're
all.
well known in the community, and it's like all of us we have a good knowledge of your work and yourself, and thank you for this. On one of your slides, it was called Small Step, and there were a number of photographs of businesses that from the sidewalk, municipality, to a building that owners have, there's a small, as you said, a small step. In your report, you mentioned that the Heritage Committee sometimes has comment that would prohibit, because you're now going to be modifying front end of these buildings. But I see that photograph as if the cement itself from the inside of the building to the sidewalk was just a small slope, that probably would be a help. And then in your report, possibly getting funding from the facade grants. So I don't know whether that would qualify. That would, I guess time would tell on that, whether something like that would qualify. But at least it would show then that the store owner or the business owner was at least thinking to remove at least that, whatever that height is, away. So it may not, maybe their doors aren't wide enough, maybe there's other things, Mary, but on that photograph that you had in your presentation, I saw that immediately as something that someone probably could do and to take away even the trip hazard. So thank you though.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we're talking about things coming off a sidewalk, of course, then you have the problem of if it's a little tilted, then for those that walk and things like that. But there are some solutions, and I think it's just us trying to find out where they are. Yeah, for sure.
Councillor Ennis?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, a question and then maybe just a finishing comment to you, Mary. The small rise, just the pictures that you had, I'm just wondering if those were kind of just sort of flattened out and leveled to be more of like a slope as opposed to like a proper step. Is that something a wheelchair could conceivably make it over, or?
Oh, yeah, depending on.
I mean, it'd be a bit of a bump, but
yeah.
okay.
And even some of the smaller steps you can get,
okay.
You can do, but it doesn't make it kind of universally accessible, because there'll still be people. We learned tons about electric wheelchairs when we did this walk with Bill. We had no idea that the swing of the door made a difference. And I mean, I've been a physio doing rehab for years, and I had never even thought of that. So yeah, and maybe that's part of what this will be all about, is to, you know, we have an advisory committee, but maybe we need to bring more of the community together to work out some of these these problems, and this would work for me, and why wouldn't it work for you? I don't think we'll get it universal because, you know, if you're a young 20-year-old, you can do almost anything in a chair. But if you're hitting 75, not so easy anymore. So, but I think there are best practices we could look at.
Fair enough. Yeah,
For
and
sure.
that draws sort of on the comment that I'd had that came from what Councillor Bell had said. Just thinking about heritage and some of these buildings, given that you know, mobility as a form of accessibility requirements, you know, if you live long enough, you're going to run into mobility limitations if you're so lucky. And when I look at heritage, it's kind of a bit of a paradox to me to think like, yeah, it's great when you're young, but if you know, you share in the heritage of the community and live here your whole life, eventually you're going to be unable to use it. So, I would say that if, you know, if we could pare back some of those, I think that would be advantageous and in respect of heritage
Yeah,
fundamentally.
and as I said too, when we investigated that comment, it turned out it was something, it was more like a rumor. This is what this gentleman had been told, and it wasn't, but there is so much out there about heritage and accessibility, and it can be pretty cool. So I think there's lots of solutions out there for that. But again, getting the two committees together to solve that, you know, more brains, it usually works to come up with something. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you again, Mary. Oh, you've already spoken, Councillor, but
If I may, Your Worship, I'll be brief. It's just on the subject of the small steps. Certainly, I think in the vast majority of cases, a small slope is better than a small step. For people who have, they're not in wheelchair, but who have difficulty walking, and there are many of us, a small step is referred to as a trip step. And so a gentle slope is an advantage. It's a small thing, but to many it's important.
Councillor Yorick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mary, obviously, for the great presentation and all the great work you do. I'm going to give you the opportunity for a shameless plug. Again, with all you do through disability work, which is amazing, and because the fact the concert was actually canceled this year at Christmas at the Bay, which was tragic.
Devastating.
Yeah, all of the above. But you give us hope that that might actually happen again. So you might want to just talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm okay. Okay, we haven't had a board meeting. We're just, I have to ask permission. Yeah, what we're looking at, Barb Whedon, when I talked to her at Events for Life, you know, she said, of course, the participants, they were just so devastated. And I can tell you, I was devastated. But, you know, she said, is there any way we could do it in the spring? So my brain's going, Christmas on the Bay in the spring, is this possible? But of course, as soon as everybody on Christmas on the Bay starts to think about it, I think it's going to be possible. So, you know, we'll be working on it after Christmas, and I'll see if our groups are interested. I think they will be. I mean, we had people come from Owen Sound for thinking it was still on, and with Dancing with Parkinson's, and they had a big party at noontime in the galleries because we already had the food, so we invited everybody in. And so yes, but Barb made a point. She said having all these different groups together in the Opera House, she said, is so showing their value, and they're so part of the community. And she said, we just need to do it. We just need to do it. So.
Thank you very much again, Mary. And next, I'm going to call on J.D. Meaford, Meaford Chamber of Commerce, for an update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor, Council, and everyone else. Good afternoon. I've got just a general synopsis of our year one, our progress, our successes, and a brief glimpse into some of our plans for year two of the 3-year proposal that I put together last year for you from the Meaford Chamber of Commerce. We had a good year, a very positive year of growth and hope. We reestablished several relationships and began some new ones. We brought lots of new energy into the office. We increased memberships and created a much higher profile in our After Five networking events and a much more aggressive online presence through our social channels. The Apple this year was a continued great hub for information, entertainment, and a good gathering place for visitors and locals alike. Excuse me. One of our two major project events was Summerfest 24. We considered it sort of a handoff year, if you will. We're in good faith. Remaining members of the WAVE group worked with Chamber to make for another successful year. Highlights included movie night, Friday night, Poutine Fest Saturday. We knew the movie night was successful because we ran out of popcorn. So we thought that was a good thing. Plans are already underway for next year's Summerfest. And with that in mind, we're also looking for anyone who wants to be a part of that festival weekend, the planning, the execution, that committee is being built, and to let me know if you're interested. Some other initiatives and memorable events this year included the Master Class series, where we brought knowledge, information, education, and discussion on various topics, especially interesting to some of our young dragon slayers this year and other local entrepreneurs alike. If you'll look to see that this year's Trick or Treat Trail event was indicative of a lot of our things that we had done this year. It was already successful, driving young trick-or-treaters and their parents to local businesses a week before Halloween on an otherwise quiet Saturday. 2 years ago or last year, say, 18 businesses participated, and this year we are proud to say we had 60, which stretched to the farthest realms of the business district in Meaford. And I can tell you that the involvement of a lot of these new businesses was encouraging for us because they were excited too. There's a picture there that says of our After Five posting indicating the need for an RSVP, and I thought I would put that on there because it's something that we hadn't traditionally done with our After Five events. I think we had posted that we would like to have had people RSVP to attend, but due to the numbers and the high attendance this year, we absolutely were pushing hard to have people RSVP because we had fire regulation situations with some of our venues, our host venues, because of the interest in these events, food limits, etc. We plan to grow these even more so into this next year. It's one of the many good problems that we found we had this year. We've got 3 of our directors in costume and a dragon in tow as we participated in this year's Scarecrow Invasion and Family Festival. And some of the extras, as you see the Insta booth post there as well, just some of the extras that we are working in with our After Five experiences in any given month to entice and involve membership. Meaford Dragons was bigger and better than ever. 5 amazing dragons, 5 amazing slayers, almost 200 people in attendance, and an NHL referee alum. Made for a great night. This year's chamber friend Jason McFarlane assembled this video package. Now, there is music generally in the background, but you can see for yourself kind of the way that all went down that night. Good fun, a lot of encouragement. The Dragons were very generous with their money, but also their mentorship and advice to the young slayers. And it was an exciting night overall. Combination of some brand new ideas and some existing projects that we're looking to take to that next level. So it was encouraging too. And not just from people that had been here in Meaford for a long time, but some that had just more or less arrived and started to establish a business and then looked to this process as their next stepping stone. It was a good night and fun night. With that, we want to thank you for your support of the budget funds and encouragement that made our year one a success. We feel like we had a good year one. We are working towards a great year two. We had a 236% increase in memberships and have an even more aggressive plan for more members in year two, as well as to build a strong volunteer group to help with the support that our larger initiatives demand. And that's paramount as far as one of our major plans moving ahead. We need more bodies to encourage to implement some of these projects and to guide us to grow our board. We're looking as well for more directors. We have two very interested individuals that'll help strengthen our board and others that will help guide us to new horizons as a chamber. We're currently working on a newer age website and working with the STA group on an initiative to keep visitors in Meaford longer with easy access to all the amenities that our municipality offers. We're exploring new initiatives as well, including what would be potentially an annual Chamber of Commerce golf tournament and another key component with Meaford Dragons to dive headfirst into our young entrepreneur directive. Quite simply, we hope that somebody from GBCS takes a shot as a Dragon Slayer next year for Meaford Dragons. We're hoping for room in your budget for our year two events, initiatives and operations, growth and general advocacy. We also are looking to position ourselves as an organization, having been approached by various businesses and building owners, and we'll be conducting an open forum with key people in discussing the latest proposed amendments to the Skydev waterfront building proposal. As a chamber, primarily looking for opportunities for local business growth and connectivity between the waterfront itself and the rest of the business district in Meaford. We'd like to also reaffirm regular visits from any or multiple council members to our monthly meetings. It's been great having Jessica with us. We'd like to encourage even more connection with council members attending when you can. And we're also wondering council's position on the recent Ontario passing legislation on businesses being responsible potentially for their own recycling that I know they're implementing in some municipalities and districts as early as January 26. Thank you.
Any questions for the chamber, the deputy mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just wanted to thank JD for being here with us today and my day, and I'm sure Councillor Urick will agree. You know, when you're involved with the chamber, the work of it just really gets in your blood, and I can see that it's in your blood too. Yeah, it is addictive. As we know, the business community spoke and they determined that they didn't wish to go forward with the BIA, but the comment I heard over and over again was, we just want to support the chamber. And so that momentum, I think, is really going to launch you into year two of your strategic plan. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And I appreciate, JD, that you do come before this council. We've had some chamber presidents who were less present in council chambers. And as you know, I've said to you, advocacy in my mind is your number one role. So as you talk about, you know, the situation with waste management and what's happening with the commercial and the industrial and the institutional as we transition into a producer responsibility and what that will mean for your businesses. Come back and talk to us about that, because I know staff are working on it, and it will be very helpful to have that understanding from the business community of where they stand on that. So don't be a stranger. Come and see us often, because it's just very valuable for our decision making to understand the position of businesses in our community.
Will do.
Anything else? Looks like that's it, but thank you again, JD, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Are there any deputations on agenda items or any public questions today? Again, it's nice to see people in our gallery, and we appreciate your presence. And always remember that it's very easy to address council and also to ask any questions. So seeing none, I'm going to ask for council inquiries. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I know we've discussed this several times, but not for a few weeks. Just because we're approaching the end of 2025, and I know we'd hope to have the Bayshore Road project completed by this point in time. And I'm just wondering if there's still hope that we will see the contractors back to finish the outstanding work.
Through your worship, I am happy to say that they have been out on site for the past 2 weeks. There is some changing of work that we had been negotiating and working with what that looked like, but they did quickly get out once things were confirmed. There are some outstanding items that we are working through, but we're trying to get as much of the work done as quickly as we can. The weather seems to be a bit all over the place this week, so it's going to be dependent on a couple of those items, but we do recognize the impact of not getting that work done. So we'll continue working through the final kinks of the project and getting the work done as we can to get it completed as soon as possible. But they have been out on site at least last week, they were for sure. But again, with the weather, I'm not sure if they're out on site currently, but we will have them continuing as we can.
Councillor Greenfield?
Your worship, through you to Director Victoria. I just heard recently that Meaford, municipality Meaford is looking at having to replace its water tower. Can you tell me any details on that?
Through your worship, I'm not sure where you got this information from, but there isn't necessarily anything pending currently. So we can give you information when it's available, but I'm not sure if the information you heard was correct at this time.
Thank you. I'll have to check to see if it was a reliable source.
If I may, I might ask CAO Everett to intervene here. I've heard him speak of a second water tower being needed. Can you help Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think one of the things, there have been some documents, I believe, over the past that have identified an aging water tower. Not aware of a second water tower, but I do know that there was, the last time the existing water tower was completed, there's a life expectancy on those. I believe that water tower was done in the 50s, I believe. 1947. I was going to say 47, but I didn't think my mind was that good. So there's some additional information that I'm happy to work with staff to bring forward on what that looks like.
Tori?
Through your worship, and as all of our capital projects come through budget, when that is needed for replacement, you will see it through the budget process. But you won't see anything for this upcoming year. But that is how it will be identified. And our 2014 master plan does identify an eventual second tower. But as we go through a master planning process to update that, we'll get a better understanding of what the community needs right now and what that could look like going forward. But again, as these projects are required, they'll be coming through the budget process.
Don't see any other council questions, so we'll move on to our consent agenda. There's just one item, and the recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, enact a bylaw to amend bylaw 053-2012, Schedule A3, refreshment vehicle licensing based on the changes proposed in this report. And 2, direct staff to include $375 in the fees and charges as a seasonal rental rate for a municipal site to operate a refreshment vehicle. Mover and a seconder for this. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Bell, thank you. Any discussion? We have been all through this in the last meeting and so on, so I'm just going to, I think, call the vote, seeing no questions, all in favor, and that is passed unanimously. Moving on to the other items for consideration today. First recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2025-76, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 60-2009 of the municipality of Meaford pertaining to lands known as 165 Sunset Beach, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. The mover and seconder, Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Ennis. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is, the recommendation is, be it resolved that bylaw 2025-77, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2026, to be made before the adoption of the estimates for the year, and to provide for the payment of taxes, and to provide for penalty and interest charges for non-payment of taxes, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A mover and seconder, Councillor Bell and Councillor Urick. Thank you. Any discussion on this? It's pretty perfunctory. We do this every year. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. The next item, the recommendation be it resolved that bylaw 2025-78, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 60-2009 of the municipality of Meaford pertaining to part lot 12, concession 2 east, former Sydenham Township in the municipality of Meaford, be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. The mover and seconder, Councillor Bell and Councillor Greenfield. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? Councillor Bell?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So we've all read through the report, and this report has got so much background information in it. I found it to be quite incredible what the proponent wishing to get these areas severed. Was the process that they went through something that now, as council, when we look at these reports, is going to be more standard? There was everything in this report. There was the land, there was the water, there was the critters from the environmental. There was everything in it. Did they do more than what they were required, or is this getting to be pretty standard procedure now?
Our planner is here and can speak to that more specifically through your worship. But I will note that these things are determined by the context. So the property has a great deal to do with what is studied. So I'll pass it over to Michael.
So through you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, I would just echo what Amy said, that each property would be taken on its own merit and it would be evaluated at that point. For this specific property, they didn't do anything more than they were required to do. Everything in here is what would be required through policy and through the legislation that we have.
Since we're taking a moment and drilling down a little deeper, could you give us just a ballpark figure estimate of the cost of the studies undertaken in this case? Does anybody have even a vague idea? I think it would be substantial.
Your worship, yes. Again, the context and the scope of the area that needs to be studied and the intensity of the study really determines the cost. It's really a case by case basis. So I don't think we would want to ballpark the cost, but when an applicant wishes to amend their zoning or for any development proposal, there certainly is a cost attributed to that change. So
I think go ahead, Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Tony because wasn't expecting War and Peace on an amendment, so it was quite interesting. It was actually interesting reading. Through the comment section, I didn't see it, and I know there's nothing I think really detailed that's going to encroach in the hazardous lands, but I didn't really see any comments from Grace Sobel. Did they comment on that? Because I didn't see it in the notes anywhere. Could be just me.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Mayor. So Grace Sobel commented heavily on this proposal. So the area that's going to be rezoned to EP area is based entirely on mapping provided by Grace Sobel that they worked in tandem with the applicant to acquire, and then they vetted everything and then provided it to us as part of this. So they did comment.
Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship, and just to echo what Councillor Bell mentioned, this was a very complete report, Michael, and thank you for presenting this. It got more interesting as the more you read, and it's good. I look at this as a real win-win situation. We're going to end up with potential of 3 building lots in our rural area, potentially maybe someday 3 new homes in that area. But at the same time, we're preserving the wetlands, the green area, the natural area. So as I say, this is just a good news story all around, I think, and I hope we can get this passed and progress forward.
And I just close with a comment that it illustrated just what a rich natural assets we have in rural Meaford. It's a very, very, like we accommodate a lot of nature's finest. So, are you ready to vote on this then? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. The next report, the recommendation is that Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, approve the award of proposal RFP Commercial 2025-01 website redesign to Tenzing Communications for $170,721.73, including the municipality's non-refundable allocation of HST. 2, authorize the treasurer to transfer $60,000 from the IT reserve. And 3, authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into the necessary agreement. A mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Greenfield and Deputy Mayor Keaveney. And Holly, I call you to the microphone to speak to this report. Thanks.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. So this, before you today, you're seeing an award report for the website redesign, which protects the continuity while also modernizing the primary channel for our communication out to the community, being our website. As a reminder, our current website reaches end of life on June the 30th of 2026, with the maintenance and support for the website ending at the end of this month, with only critical matters being managed. As council directed, staff have also provided an option for migration as an alternative for your consideration. And for clarity, migration transfers the existing site largely over to the new platform as is, which would mean that it maintains a lot of the current look, structure, and provides some limited modernization compared to a website redesign. It also requires the migration significantly more staff time compared to what was included in the ask for a vendor as part of the full website redesign. A redesign is a full rebuild and modernization of the site, and this proposal also includes the ongoing support, hosting, and maintenance for the website. Through this process, staff evaluated 23 eligible proposals and recommend awarding to Tenzing Communication for just over $170,000 over the course of 5 years. And again, this delivers the full redesign as well as the hosting, maintenance, and support. This is a scalable solution that meets the needs of our community today while coming in under the year 1 budget by over $30,000. This platform is an open source solution, which eliminates the risk that we're experiencing today in reaching an end of life for the platform. On the 2026 levy impact, I do want to correct some of the figures that were included in the report, and I do apologize for that. So for clarity, the vendor-only impact would be a 0.31 impact increase to the levy. The overall project would be a 0.57, and that includes the previously discussed project implementation support for the website. So the 0.97 is an error, and again, my apologies. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions and answer that.
Questions, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to start by thanking you, Holly. You've done a tremendous amount of work on this project to get it this far. So you must feel proud that you now have a vendor in place. So my question for you, what happens after year 5? Does that mean this website will then need another redesign? Will we be back where we are now? Or can it be continued in some fashion, or do we know at this point?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, we've designed this with the idea that the website would be scalable, and we'll also get into some discussions through the budget process where some money would be put aside every year, so we wouldn't end up in this position financially. But in short, no, we wouldn't end up in this position, and our website is designed to be able to last past the 5 years with small increments and investments potentially year over year, and that might look like in year 6 or in year 7, or maybe we save that for a future year. But it's been considered that it is scalable and would be able to be used beyond the 5-year term. What this agreement does allow us to do is to lock in the pricing essentially for that support, maintenance, and hosting for the next 5 years, which increases about 2% based on this agreement.
Other questions? Councillor Ennis?
Very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I was just curious, you'd said that this is an open source solution, and I realized I'm not clear on what that means.
Yes, so through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Ennis. So forgive me that I'll fill in some of the blanks as our IT manager is not here and able to speak to some of the technical side of it. But essentially, this is being planned to be designed on WordPress. So the contrary or the contrast to an open source CMS would be a proprietary one where we would have no option but to move forward with the vendor on a proprietary system. So this is available to be accessed by anyone. So as the Deputy Mayor was referring to, let's say that after 5 years, we no longer want to move forward with the vendor, we still have the site and the platform being on WordPress platform. Does that provide you with the clarity?
It does. I'm just, because I've heard previously that with municipal websites, we have to be very careful, like increase it more so than really other organizations. So we have to be very careful with security of the website. And I just want to confirm that the team is comfortable that an open source platform like WordPress satisfies that.
Yes, yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor, there were a number of different checks performed by our IT manager and requirements included, especially in and around security, and all of our data we included in the proposal will be hosted in Canada through that process. So there are no concerns from staff's perspective.
Okay, Councillor Yorick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Holly. Great job. Quick question is on the actual redesign itself. Are we kind of looking at best practices of other examples? Like, where's the designs coming from? I mean, obviously, we all agree that our site currently not the best. Where we want to get to is, nice to be gold star. Are we looking at other examples of ones that work really well municipally, or is the company coming in and making the recommendations based on that or their own experience? How's that working?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Yorick, that's a great question. And in terms of next steps moving forward with today, if council does decide to move forward with the recommended vendor, we would kick things off ultimately in January to meet the timeline of the end of life for the website. But there would be a combination of different methodologies. We'd certainly, and we do have a number of websites that we see as being in line with best practices that we look to model some of their website architecture and structure to, but then also be able to customize it for our community and design it as much as we can with the scalability in mind and the idea that we're not locked into this forever. But I do also see the opportunity for the website vendor to have a couple of different designs and to come back to council, to have council be supportive of that decision in the direction that we're moving forward with in that overall design of the website.
Other questions? It's pretty clear to, pardon me, pretty clear to me that I don't think any of us are interested in migration, and the clerk has very kindly, provided us wording for a motion if we, thought we wanted to go that route, but I just want to be very clear. I don't think we're remotely interested in migration. We're looking for a new site, correct? Okay. Are you ready to vote? Okay, all in favor? And congratulations, Holly.
Thank you very much.
That was passed unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the recommendation that Council of the Municipality of Meaford approve the installation of 2 stop signs on Cook Street at the intersection of Cook and William Street. Mover and a seconder for this, Councillor Bell and Councillor Urick. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when I brought this back for a second run at doing something at this intersection, reading this report, I'm quite pleased. I'm pleased with that back when I tried previously to do something differently, there was a traffic study that was done and it caused some questions amongst council, spending some money on a traffic impact statement. So in this report, quite literally, that hasn't been lost money as it was used in this report. Also, I'm quite pleased to see the proactive initiative of our staff saying that they've got stop signs in stock. They've looked at what they're going to do for locate, and this should happen fairly quickly. Reading through the report on the executive summary, it did say that that traffic impact study recommended taking away the stop signs on William Street and just only having 2 stop signs then left on Cook Street. But today, what we're voting on is my initial request of staff to look into making it a 4-way stop. And unless I have interpreted that clearly wrong, I look forward to having comment from senior staff. But today I'm quite pleased to have that along with the recommendation on Cook Street, adding some no parking signs along that. So all in all, I'm quite pleased with this. I'd be happy to see this move forward and turning it into a 4-way stop with no parking on Cook Street. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So has he got it right, Tori?
Through your worship, yes, so the report is written to reflect the motion, which identified a 4-way stop at the Cook Street, William Street intersection, but the transportation impact study did identify or recommended that the intersection be a 2-way stop, and changing it from having the stop signs so that there would be stop signs on Cook Street and we would remove the stop signs on William Street. That was what was recommended through the study based on traffic counts. So the traffic count on William Street is it's higher than what is on Cook Street. And so they identified that based on the traffic counts, that's what they were recommending. But the report does identify a 4-way stop based on the motion that Councillor Bell had brought forward. Either way, we do plan to put the no parking signs on Cook Street within 50 meters of the intersection, as both options would include stop signs on Cook Street.
Any other questions or comments? You're ready to vote then? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Now I need a motion to move into committee of the whole at 2:03 p.m. A mover is Councillor Urick and a seconder is Councillor Ennis. And the first item, sorry, yes, we need to vote on that. All in favor? 2:03. The first item is yes, Deputy Mayor Keaveney is excusing herself because she has a conflict on this particular item. And the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford, 1, approve the Meaford Rotary Club Facility Use Agreement, and 2, approve use of the proposed 35% subsidy of the community rate to the Meaford Rotary Club as proposed by staff and in consultation with the Meaford Rotary Club. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Greenfield and Councillor Urick. Thank you. Discussion. Questions. Do you have a question go right ahead?
Thanks,
Tony.
Mr. Mayor. Thanks to staff, to all the conversations and all the work that you've done working with the Rotary Club on this. I know in the report it said about, the outstanding work that the Rotary Club does in the community. There are also many other service clubs that also do this, but for them at the Meaford Hall and what they put back into the community, I think it way more than offsets what we're talking about here in a dollar figure. And I can support the 35% deduction.
Right. Any other comments? I think for those who are wondering what's the 35% about, that's, and I hesitate to try and explain it, but I think I will. We're trying to establish a suitable subsidy for community groups, and especially community groups that are very active and central to the success we're having in Meaford as a community. And so I would just say that 35% is something that is recognizing the contributions of the group that we're talking about here. So all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. You could call Shirley back. The next item on our agenda the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford 1 approve the continuation of the TL1 urban barriers for the 2026 patio season with participating businesses covering the full cost of barrier rentals in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001 and in the interest of cost recovery and fairness to the broader business community. And 2, direct staff to continue administering the seasonal patio program, including coordination with participating businesses to ensure compliance with all applicable accessibility, fire, and building code requirements. A mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Keaveney, and a seconder as Councillor Bell. Thank you. Discussion on this item. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very much in favor of the recommendation here, but I'm just curious to know if we had any feedback from businesses this year who had patios, and if we have any idea at this point how many restaurants might want patios for 2026.
Thank you for the question, through you, Your Worship. I'm not aware of any other businesses that have indicated a wish to have a new patio in 2026.
Do we know whether the existing proponents plan to come back?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would assume so, yes. I think that they found a lot of success in their patios.
Excellent. Okay, now Councillor Urick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this will be long. I'm going to go the other direction. That is significant. And why I'm bringing this up, I'm going to disagree with the argument that other businesses do not benefit from on-street patios in Meaford. From an economic development perspective, an argument can be made that the increased foot traffic can benefit other businesses in the community who do not pay anything to contribute to the additional traffic. So what I did was I looked at a lot of other businesses in, or a lot of other municipalities in Ontario. And it was interesting finding that a number of them want to continue to subsidize. I know this all came out because of COVID, but there was a lot that said, okay, what did they kind of glean from that success and where did that take them? Kitchener. Patios can help create vibrant, welcoming atmospheres for residents and tourists, encouraging people to linger, reconnect, and support local businesses. The patios installed along King Street in downtown Kitchener did just that and more, generating $3.2 million in total sales just over 2 seasons, which translates into a return of 3.4 times on the investment. Guelph, the program's success has been integral in supporting the corporate vision for a thriving and vibrant downtown. Majority of businesses with seasonal patios reported increased revenue and received positive feedback from their customers. Community engagement surveys showed that 800 out of 900 respondents were people visiting patios downtown, as well as in other areas of Guelph. Survey also revealed that visitors are more likely to stay downtown longer and visit businesses they would never have visited before. I'm going to tackle this from an ACDev perspective. An October 2025 report from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce cited that Canada's arts and culture sector, which includes culinary tourism, contributed 65 billion to the economy last year. According to the report, growth in the arts and culture sector since 2011 has outpaced the growth of key industries such as oil and gas, wholesale trade, retail trade, construction and manufacturing combined. An August 2023 report by the Ontario Arts Council states that the average arts and culture tourist represents over $618 in economic impact, while the average non-arts and culture tourist is $230, making the average arts and culture tourist trip approximately triple the value to the local community. So when people coming in to actually visit patios, and if they're walking the street, they tend to be more affluent and they tend to be more likely to spend money. They're more likely to stay in the community overnight. Moreover, they're also more likely on the way into that visit, stop at our fruit stands, our farm stands, our wineries, or outside businesses. So there's a lot to be said that actually supports the potential of those entities bringing curb appeal to the community that brings people in, that then benefits the other businesses on the street who aren't even paying or contributing to that. So this is going to go to a broader comment, because my concern is that, again, Meaford, we've never, or since my iteration, and I don't believe previously, we've not had an ECDev component in the budget. I do believe that's coming. We've not had a tourism component. When I see that kind of an increase to what are basically 2 or 3 small businesses that want to do this, that's a major hit to them. Take that away, that's losing some of the curb appeal. What concerns me is the Growing Our Economy Committee and myself and Savannah Myers from Grey County have all stated that the one thing we're kind of lacking is we have not updated our ACDev strat plan 2020 to 2024. It is now expired. I don't know when the next one's coming. We have not engaged or see it coming a community vision plan. And just hearing today, Mary talk about accessibility. Those 2 restaurants, people in town can't even go into in the winter, but they can eat there in the summer because of the patios. So there's a lot of advantage to having those patios there beyond just saying, I'm going to hit them. So I'm going to take this from a little different tact. And I don't know whether we've looked at this or not, but that's very expensive. And I'm wondering if that's part of the rental capacity of that. I'm wondering if it's possible. I looked at the pricing of TL1 barriers. They can be in the vicinity of $300 to $600 per meter. I know there's about 20 meters per parking lot or per parking space. For that amount of money, could we not purchase them? And I know that that's going to involve storage and it's going to involve staff putting up and down. So that also has to be brought into the cost factor. But if we buy them, and then if we then amortize that over a few years of them being able to help pay that back, from an ACDev perspective, would that not make sense as opposed to dinging them for rental every year for 12 grand or 9 to 10 grand, each, whatever it was? I just think that I would almost like to see this pushed back, because this isn't going to happen till obviously the late spring anyway. I would like to see this possibly be conceived as a purchase scenario as compared to rental, and see if we can make that more palatable to the businesses, because I think they serve an overall economic development long run for the community.
So would you be interested in bringing a motion?
Yeah, I would move that this be brought back to staff to compare purchasing this and what that cost structure would look like, doling it out over a number of years on cost, knowing full well that we are going to have to store them and put them up and take them down. So that cost is going to be after factored in as well. But amortized over a number of years, that may come out to a less of a hit than what we're proposing with the rental capacity here. So I would like to see that comparison made of purchase versus rental.
Before, do you wish to speak before we entertain a motion or I'm going to ask the clerk here, Margaret, ought we to, since he has advanced this proposal, ought we to get a motion, see if he can get a seconder and discuss it, or?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think the CAO wanted to offer some comments, and I think
Okay.
a motion perhaps after following the comments would be very helpful to
Okay,
understand the next
go
steps.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Urick. I think one of the things, happy for staff to come back with a breakdown of whether we purchase or we rent. That can easily be done. I think the issue that we have when we look at the municipal act is, as a municipality, we can't provide that for a profit center, because you can't be using tax dollars from local residents to go to a business and that business from profiting from the use of those dollars. That's why for 2025, the dollars that were used were actually from the BIA reserve. So I know other municipalities will do these. However, they are program and property of the municipality, and the municipality then rents that space. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. However, the key thing is just a profit center can't benefit from taxpayers' dollars directly. So happy to have this. I think irregardless the goal, because this was a topic the first meeting I was at with this organization. The goal is to have this in place by at least February to ensure that the business owners, unlike 2025, have a clear indication of whether or not they are going to have patios, so their business plan for the 2026 season can be solid. Where last year it sort of dragged on and there was a lot of changes. The goal is, first quarter of 2026 to have this very, very clear to what the requirements are, and that will then determine whether or not individuals wish to have patios or not to have patios. So I would say, from what I understand, the program was successful this year, mainly because there wasn't as much barrier on that street. There was an opportunity to have parking in between the patios, where 2024, my understanding was, it was very much that section of Syke Street was basically patioed and lacked parking. So I think there were a few things that came to play. But ultimately, happy to have staff take a look at the cost between purchasing and renting. The part that from an administration perspective is the struggle with the municipal act. Well, not the struggle, just ensuring that we are staying consistent and compliant with the municipal act. Thank you.
Councillor Urick.
So, because when I looked this up, I know, just to name a few: Toronto, Hamilton, Burlington, Guelph, St. Catharines, Oakville, New Tecumseh, South Huron, as examples, all offer some kind of subsidies or support for patios. So again, just there's methodologies. Some of those are on roads, highways, like ours are. So I'm just looking for a way to try and support this and make it feasible over, like I said, amortizing that cost over a number of years, as opposed to supporting them through an economic development lens, as opposed to potentially not having them do it because it's going to be too much of a hit for a small business.
Yeah, just one point to raise. So this is something that actually, some municipalities could have funding sources, whether it be the CIP or some legislative process that allows for a grant. I will say at this point, we don't have that avenue to use. But it is something that in the future, if that's something that we wanted to take a look at, it could be. I would also say this is sometimes where it would be awesome to have a BIA. And this may be something that the chamber may want to consider how they can play a part in as well. So there's lots of avenues. It's just without those tools in our toolbox, and it is a cost recovery model.
So at that, I'll leave it as my motion stands to bring it back to staff to look at the cost versus rental, purchase versus rental option, and see what that would do, if there was a way to possibly make that work.
So is there a seconder for Councillor Yearig's motion? Oh, sorry.
No, my apologies for interrupting, Mayor Kettner. I just wanted to clarify that I think procedurally, my suggestion would be that it's a deferral motion, if that makes sense. My suggestion would be a motion to defer until Q1 of 2026 to allow staff to bring back a comparison sort of addendum report on information on purchasing versus renting the barriers. With that process, a report would return to the future agenda committee of the whole with the addendum report that would be drafted in response. So it would be the same recommendation as today, but with the subsequent additional information. So just if that makes sense and if that's your preference before getting a seconder, I just thought it was important to clarify the process.
I'm always learning at the School of Margaret, and I didn't literally say deferral because I was always under the impression, yeah, it came back as written. So that's why I was changing it, but if it can be done as a deferral, I'll gladly do that.
And that would provide an opportunity to find out what loopholes, some of these major centers have found with the municipal act and not benefiting a commercial enterprise. So, Councillor Greenfield.
I'll second Mr. Yearig's amendment on the condition that the report does include legislated ruling with this activity.
So we're voting actually to defer this report. And do you need any more information? Do you want to see a finalized, or will we leave it with staff to develop the report?
I think CAO has already indicated that there's some expedience to this already, so I'm trusting that will kind of be done on that behest, so I'm fine with it, yes.
The last thing we want to do is leave doubt in, the proponent's mind where we're coming from. So, okay, all in favor of the deferment motion, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item is the recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive report Legislative Services 2025-02, question on the ballot for information purposes. Mover and a seconder. I guess, Councillor Greenfield, I can appreciate you moving this. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ennis, okay. Discussion. Go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just to make a comment, I appreciate this coming forward from Ms. Wilton-Segal. Now, I think there has been a number of questions and ideas out in the public about a question on the ballot. Now we've got a report, what can go on the ballot, what's required, what is permitted and what is not permitted. And I think it's just a very good piece of information to have available for us.
Okay. So are we receiving this for information, basically? Is that correct?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report was written as an information report so that council had the details that were involved about a question on the ballot. It's very mechanical in terms of the legislation. Should council wish to take a different direction and pursue the option to have a question on the ballot, I would suggest a changed and amended resolution to reflect more specifically what that topic would be at this time. I will take the opportunity to note the very, very short timelines. Yes. So although this will come back to council, it won't come back to council as an information report. If there was an amended motion to pursue the feasibility of a question specifically to a topic, that motion would come back in January for ratification at the council meeting. We'd have to act incredibly quickly to effect that. So just so there isn't any confusion, if we decide to reconsider after receiving for information, I think our timeline will run out with the March 1st deadline.
So the mover and seconder, I think we're happy to vote on this to receive it for information. Do you wish any change in that before we move on?
I have no intention to add anything to it.
Okay. So receiving this report for information, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. The next recommendation is that Committee of the Whole receive Report Engineering 2025-05, Concession 8 South, Speed Reduction for Information Purposes. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Urick, seconded by Councillor Bell. Discussion on this item. Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, staff, for the report. My recommendation is option 3. I know there's been much talk about trying not to do something like this. The data collected identified an 85% speed of 84 to 87. If we lower this to 60, then hopefully the speed will then be 64 to 67. So accomplishing what we want to do, or what I've tried to set out to do. So my recommendation would be to go option 3.
Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. My recommendation would also be number 3. Reading through the report, as we all have, we have comments rendered by the OPP. The OPP noted signage is lacking, so we're going to have to do something about signage. They also noted the condition of the road. One area has been redone recently. The other area, they said, was not in such great shape. I do not want to see this turned into a safe community zone, dropping it down to 50. I would back Councillor Urick. On the Chatsworth side, it says 60, moving through into the municipality of Meaford to continue to do that. I think that when the man and the lady came to council and they showed the photographs that they had taken, that probably reflects the other 15%, which the OPP did not talk about, although there probably is a small percentage of slow-moving vehicle signs on that road. The other one, though, that was important to me when I heard the lady and the fellow talk to us was that the animal clinic close by too. And so if the intent is to try and do something to reduce the speed of the traffic in that area, I think by us doing what Councillor Urick said about dropping it to 60, they probably will still speed, but will probably have the impact of getting them to at least be conscious of the fact they're in an area where it's posted at 60. So I can support option number 3 myself. Thank you.
So in order to proceed on this, we're asked to receive this for information. Do we need a motion, Margaret, to actually make a choice of options?
Thank you, Your Worship. My suggestion would be a motion to replace the current one, so an amending motion, perhaps that select option 3, reduction of speed limit to 60 kilometers an hour at a cost of $3,000. I had just talked to the director about where that money would come from, and I don't know, Tori, if you wanted to speak to that specifically.
Through your worship, just with the timing of budget being finalized, I think it might be best that the money just come out of the road reserves. Obviously, it's a minimal amount of money in comparison to what's in those reserves. And then we won't have to figure out how we can update the 2026 budget in such a short time period. And it doesn't need to get into that. So we'll just utilize the reserves that we have for that.
Thank you. So I'll hear from these councillors, and then so Councillor Urick was first, and then Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I was just going to say I was happy with the interpretation of the motion and happy to do that.
And Councillor Greenfield.
Councillor Bell has seconded this. I would like to comment and ask a question. This location is somewhat unique. There is a cluster of driveways, which it's not completely unusual, but there are some, and being at the top of the hills, again, a bit of uniqueness. So I'm not opposed to reducing the limit to 60. I see we have done this in some other areas, and I know the seventh line up north of Rockland. Now that's Grey Highlands, but it's reduced to 60 north of the village, and Grey County has reduced the speed limit on County Road 12 way out in the countryside, and I can see if this tying in. What this reduction to 60? What are we talking? Are we talking from the town line of Chatsworth all the way up to Side Road 6, or all the way up to County Road 18? I heard the animal shelter mentioned, and it's a fair distance north of this specific spot. So I just like to get that verified if I can.
Through your worship, the pricing identified to Side Road 6, but that's up to what council would prefer. That was the section that was identified through the motion, but we can look at different areas. That's where the topography is a concern to the residents. So no, it wouldn't go all the way to the county road based on the current motion.
Go ahead, Councillor.
If I may briefly, Your Worship, between Side Road 6 and County Road 18, there are a couple of fairly big farming operations, which mean big farm machines. So maybe it'd be best to take it all the way up to 18.
Okay, so now I also notice here that we need a bylaw amendment to be able to bring this about. So maybe Margaret, you could help us understand the quickest way to bring our wishes to fruition here.
Certainly, Mayor Kentner, I still think probably the motion to direct staff to move forward with option 3 will be the best approach. With that, the steps that need to follow will be included as part of that.
So the motion is to adopt option 3. Are you ready to vote? All in favor? That is carried unanimously, so I hope that helps you.
Sorry, I just wanted to confirm that we were going to do it all the way to Gray Road 18, or if we were just going to go to 6 Side Road.
Something that may play into this is that we heard from the quarry that their vehicles need a certain speed at the bottom of the hill to get to the top of the hill. So, and I don't know whether that was 50, 60, 70. Does anybody else recall that? So I think that it at least, how should I put it? There's no sense slowing the traffic to 60 all the way down if they have to go to 65 to actually, with these heavy loads, to actually, make the top of the hill. So help me, Councillor Wheatfield. I'm just trying to recall all the evidence that has come into us on this particular problem. So you're thinking, if I understand you, that it should be right from the beginning of the.
Yes, I was. I hear what you're saying about the big truck traffic. Yeah, if a 60-kilometer speed limit makes it impossible with them, I'd suggest they follow another route.
Okay.
But
You
yeah,
help
I
me here.
suggest they go all the way to 18.
And I think it also depends partly, it's recognized that our section of the road is in very poor condition, and especially the area where the speeding has been reported. But I don't know how far north that poor road condition persists. So I think that's another thing to take into consideration. Yep.
Through your worships. So from the presentation and concerns that have been received from the resident. Their request at minimum were that from Holland Sydenham Town Line to the Six Side Road is where a reduction was made. That section is where that hill is, where the vehicles from the quarry do utilize that road. And if that would be the concern area for them. So that is the area that this report is identifying to be reduced to the 60. Councillor Greenfield had mentioned an additional reduction from Side Road 6 north to Gray Road 18. So the additional section north be added to it as well. That section, from my understanding, hadn't been identified by that resident, but it's not that there aren't other concerns but it was not reviewed as part of this report. That section, if I recall correctly, though, is in better condition. It's just that one section that's between Six Side Road and Sunny Valley Road that has not yet been within our rehabilitation or reconstruction program so far, whereas the other sections have been at different points and so are in slightly or in different condition than that one section. But again, that 60 would remain in place even if that road did get rehabilitation work on it. So yes, while it's maybe currently not in as high of a condition, even once we did that work, we would keep the 60 kilometer an hour on that roadway. So the condition of the road really shouldn't dictate the road speed, because we have road conditions of all sorts throughout our municipality and we don't necessarily dictate the condition based on it. It just really depends on where it falls in that reconstruction cycle, as we talked about earlier with asset management. So I just was hoping to get clarification. Right now, the report identified that we stop at Side Road 6. And so I think we can keep the motion that we've now changed it to, but I think if the council can provide clarity, if it's just the section from the town line to Side Road 6 or the town line to the county road, what would be preferred so that we know what needs to be done. The funding that was identified in the report just goes to Side Road 6.
Okay, that's helpful.
Mr. Mayor, maybe I can just make a suggestion. Because we're in committee of the whole, we could provide two maps for this coming forward to council, one with going to the 6th and one going to the 18th. I'm fearful of doing this on the fly, where I think a visual may be helpful, that this report could be pulled from committee, pulled at the next council meeting, have just two simple maps, and then council can make that clear delineation. So that's just a suggestion, just to be able to make sure council and the public are fully aware of where we're contemplating this 60 kilometer an hour change.
Councilor Rennis.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. In that reporting, we could also have the speed that the quarry has stated that they need for their trucks, just so if we don't know it offhand for sure at the moment, when we're deciding, we know that.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Ennis, let me stew on that one, because at the end of the day, I think the bigger concern is it's not necessarily what the quarry wants. My understanding is the trucks from the quarry actually were the ones suggesting they needed the 80 to be able to make that hill. But I think it's more of a council decision as to the 60. But we'll talk to staff. I know we'd also talked to staff about talking to the Humane Society, because one of my issues with when we deal with rural roads typically are not built with pedestrian use as a factor. They're in the rural roads. So making sure that, when people are walking, rural roads typically don't have much of a side of the road to walk on. So I think there's a whole etiquette and understanding of what rural roads are meant for. But making sure that staff reach out to our local residents and our stakeholders to make sure that the use of those roads are are appropriate. I will say, and I'll just use this as an opportunity, this is also why staff take approving, road use and in particular laneways, placement of laneways. This is why we put so much emphasis on making sure that laneways are put in the right places, because staff are looking at it thinking, if we put the laneway here, that might be too close to the top of a hill. We want it down here to make sure that this laneway can be placed so you're not affecting the existing use of the road. So anytime I can make a plug to support staff and what we do, I know oftentimes I hear a lot about, staff are just, getting too much in the weeds, literally, to find out where to put a laneway. This is why we do it. Staff is in the best position, a neutral position, unbiased position, to be able to clearly identify where laneways are supposed to go. So I'll just
But
use
as
that
far
for my
as far as
soapbox.
rural roads are concerned, I don't think it's a very appropriate assumption that people just shouldn't walk anywhere.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't say that. I will say, though, that both the motorist as well as the pedestrian share the responsibility.
Absolutely. Councillor Arenas?
If I could, I totally see your point. And well, I appreciate all of the additional comments. But then regarding the quarry, I just ask because that is totally new information to me. And I just don't want to not have that piece of information.
So, I think I'm up to speed with everything we're trying to do. The last thing I want to do is just delay this beyond, what we were hoping for here a lot. So if we can get at our next meeting a look at, the proposal of exactly where the 60 starts and where it stops and the rationale for that, and we can vote on it then and then move forward post haste. Does that satisfy everyone? Okay, then have we got a motion that needs to be clear?
We have a motion, Your Worship. It just needs the final vote. So just in recap, the amending motion has replaced the original motion, that the selection, option 3 will be selected, which is the reduction of speed limit to 60 kilometers an hour at a cost of $3,000 to be funded through the roads reserve. That's the current motion, and that will return to council on the 12th of January.
Okay, is everyone ready to vote on that? Got another question?
I don't have a question, Mr. Mayor, but this one kind of bothers me. We have a situation here where in the report, it clearly says that the OPP do not recommend a reduction in speed. We have other residents on the road who have reached out to me, and I'm not sure if they've reached out to others, who have said they don't feel the road needs a reduction. And as the CAO just reminded us, we have a resident who placed his driveway where he wasn't supposed to put it. And yet, in spite of all of that, because we had a resident come to council and advocate for a speed reduction, we're, leaning towards doing that. So I'm just a little bit bothered about it. And I look forward to the further report with the maps, but I'm not going to vote in favor of this reduction today.
CAO.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the deputy mayor, and just a comment that I just want to be clear. It wasn't the fact that the owner put the laneway where they were not supposed to. They received a permit to have that laneway in that location. So I just wanted to be clear that from that process, they did have a permit for that location.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote then. You know what the motion is. All in favor? And that is carried 5-1. 5-1, okay. And the next item on the agenda is a recommendation that Committee of the Whole receive report Operations 2025-13, 2025 DWQMS Management Review and Audit Results for information purposes. A mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Greenfield. I don't think there's any need for discussion on this. We were all saluting Emily last week for the tremendous report that we got. Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to verbalize it, well done to the department. I think the report was 100% compliance. You can't get any better than that. You've done an outstanding job and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Councillor Ennis?
I just wanted to ask a question. I noticed that there was some opportunities to just increase efficiencies and things like that. And I was just wondering, going into budget season, like to what degree there is room for improvement in efficiency and perhaps cost?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There's always room for improvement. The opportunities for improvement are actually helping us to please the 21 elements, because the 21st element of the DWQMS is continual improvement. So if we never had an opportunity for improvement, we'd almost be going against our audit results in theory. So most of the opportunities for improvement are just bookwork related for the DWQMS. It's more the ministry ones that cost the dollars.
Okay.
You ready to vote? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda, the recommendation is that Committee of the Whole receive report Operations 2025-14 Residential Expanded Polyester or Styrofoam Program Update for information purposes. The mover and seconder, Councillor Yurek and Deputy Mayor Keaveney. Any discussion on this? Councillor Yurek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and another good news story. So yay, thanks again, Emily. You're getting all the gold stars today. Two quick questions though regarding that. One said that, yeah, so then we won't need the styrofoam recyclable depot every monthly like we do now. We do electronic waste at the same thing. Is that going to continue?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, at this point, there's no change to e-waste.
Okay. The only other question I had was with the styrofoam collection, no requirement for it to be separated from other recyclables in the blue boxes, or is it gonna now have to, people are gonna have to put them out kind of separately?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, we don't have that information yet. We're hoping that the materials can be commingled, but we just are at this time have a list of what they're going to accept starting in January.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, this is a good news story. I'm just curious to know at this point in time, do we have any other further information about what's happening in January? I mean, it came up when the president of the chamber was speaking earlier today. You know, the businesses are wondering what their situation is going to be. Do you have any updates, Emily?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, nothing's going to change really, other than January. There's possibility of more items being recycled compared to what is now. It'll be a different list of materials. When we brought the contract, you guys approved the businesses would continue to be collected for 2026. We will bring a report in 2026 to have you decide on a further time span of what we want to do about businesses. But we did not feel there was enough time to tell businesses that we were not going to collect recycling. When we got the contract at October 1st, to me, 3 months to tell businesses, sorry, find somewhere to take your recycling wasn't sufficient.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this? All in favor? Again, that is carried unanimously. And a final recommendation that Committee of the Whole recommend Council of the Municipality of Meaford enact a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Grace Sauble Conservation Authority for the continued delivery of Part 4 responsibilities under the Ontario Clean Water Act. A mover and seconder, Councillor Yurek and Councillor Greenfield. Discussion on this, Councillor Yurek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this will lead into a very lengthy motion I've got coming up. But this is obviously a contract for 5 years. We pretty much know that in a few months, well, in less than a year, that's probably all going to change. So just wondering, is it necessary to make it a 5-year agreement or make it a 1-year agreement? Because we don't know what's going to happen to Grace Harbor Conservation Authority or any of the conservation authorities for that matter. But we do know it's already passed dissent, so they're definitely going to do something with the amalgamation.
Through your worship, I think we might as well stay with status quo right now, not knowing what the changes will be. And if they are willing to continue and accept the 5-year, then we don't need to go through anything again. But if they do make changes, well, then we'll be back when we need to be back with updates. But I think keeping it the way that we always have at this point isn't harmful, and then we can make the changes when needed.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this, of course, touches on the Source Water Protection Committee that I'm pleased to be able to sit on, and risk management areas are a part of our subject material. I think in our municipality, we have historically only had two areas of potential risk management, and recently all I've heard of was one. It's this location is inspected regularly, and it's always come across with very highest marks of perfection. So it's certainly a much bigger issue in some other municipalities, but we do get involved slightly in within the municipality Meaford.
Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Possibly a stupid question, but if we're happy with the levels of service that we've received through this delegation agreement, and we're concerned about changes coming in the future, could it be a strategy to try to get a longer time horizon on the agreement and try and lock in the body that might take over?
We just had a Conservation Ontario kind of meeting discussing the ERO and strategies. There was a meeting last week as well in Collingwood for the conservation authorities that were going to be amalgamating. Realistically, Grace Harbor Conservation Authority isn't going to be around in the end of 2026. So having an agreement with that body is not going to, and we have zero idea how that's going to transform. What agreements are they going to be lumped into? Are we going to have to make all new agreements? Nobody knows, but you can almost rest assured GSDA will not exist at the end of 2026.
CML.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Ennis' point, I do agree. I like the 5-year. I'm hoping that the 5-year is something that during the amalgamation agreements might be grandfathered. And I think at 5 years, it's probably something that they could consider because if I think we're happy with it. So yeah, rather than the 1 year, I think at least going for the 5, they could always peel back or they could always throw the agreement out. My gut would be telling me that the province would probably be considering honoring those agreements as a level of service, because I'm sure that all the municipalities are probably looking at the same thing. So it might be beneficial at that 5 years. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this? All in favor? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. That was unanimous, clerk. The next item is the building report, building statistics. Does anyone in particular want to take this report or? And let's go to Councillor Greenfield. He has always been it's been a hobby horse of his, and
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I always try to make a comment for it, but I invite anyone else to jump in here too. I just there are some good news over 1.1 $1,650,000 in permit fees, which is a considerable amount of money, and development charges also involved in with over $1 million in development charges here. So this is a very important part of our financial situation. I guess I will ask through you to Ms. Can, if I may, the annual question seems to be, are we generating enough funding from our building fees to cover our building department? And I don't know, I know it's not quite year end yet, but can you give us any kind of an idea where we're at?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Greenfield, and through you, your worship. I can't answer that question specifically now, but we are certainly legislated to provide an annual report on the building fees and administration costs. So we will do that at the beginning of 2026 and give you the full snapshot of how we did this year financially.
Thank you for that. And I guess we know we've had a lot of transformation in our planning and building department in the last year. Can you give us a bit of an update on just, is everyone in place now or very close to being in place in those departments?
Through your worship, things are going very smoothly. We are well into, excuse me, our partnership with the City of Owen Sound to help us administer our building services. We do have staff from the city, accompanying inspections and also attending the office to help mentor staff and that kind of thing. So everything's going well in that regard. We're seeing major permits go through as well as the smaller permit for smaller projects. So that's great news. We continue to sort of work on the things we need to work on and try to make things run smoothly in our department. So everything's going well as far as I can see, and we have just reposted for our chief building official, and that posting is closing, I believe, in the middle of January. So hopefully we get some fruitful results out of that process. So.
And now we're going to move on to updates from members appointed to county council, committees, and local boards. And Deputy Mayor Keaveney, I'll turn it over to you for a report on county council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's been a busy time at County Council since we were last together. We had a full day of budget meetings on the 5th of December, and we had another full day this past Friday, the 12th. And we also had County Council on the 11th. So I'll just touch on the budget first. During the review, both through the Budget and Finance Committee, which I had the privilege of sitting on representing Meaford, and through the full day discussions at county, the budget, with the help of staff at the county, we were able to reduce the budget down to an end result of 4.78. That will be ratified at the first meeting in January, but that is where we arrived on Friday. So that was good news. I think we were all content with that. So on the Thursday meeting, as always, there's a lot of good information provided during the announcements. They call it good news and celebrations. But what I was most pleased to share is that the Morriston by Candlelight event at Grey Roots, and if you've never attended that, it's just beautiful. All of the buildings out in the Morriston Village are all lit by candles, and they're all well staffed with volunteers. And there's warm cider, of course, and so on. So they was open 2 nights, and they put 2,000 people through. So that's really wonderful to promote Grey Roots in that way. And also, our Director of Paramedics, Kevin McNabb, shared that 4,500 pounds of food donations were collected for the O'Share meal program in Owen Sound, and they do thousands and thousands of meals there for folks who don't have anywhere else to get a hot meal. Councillor Scott Gregg brought a motion forward that was unanimously supported by County Council, and it requested that the Shared Services Committee give consideration to county-wide library services. So this is an interesting subject that we will be considering at that committee. Currently, as a county, the lower tiers collectively spend $6,798 on library services. So recognizing that several other counties around us, Wellington, Huron, and Bruce for a few, do successfully operate libraries at the upper tier level, it will be interesting to see if efficiencies can be found. We heard a delegation from Maurice Boisan representing the Saugeen Hospice Board. He was requesting financial support to jointly sponsor with Bruce County the Family Reflection Room in this new facility, which is expected to open in mid-2028 with 6 hospice beds. The ask for the two counties is to share a $350,000 donation. No motion was made on Thursday. The province recently passed Bill 68, which will begin the process, as we well know, of the amalgamation of the conservation authorities. Grey County will become part of the Huron Superior CA. There are, as we well know, and Councillor Yurk will speak to that in his motion, a lot of concerns. So I just wanted to share that county staff had prepared a really excellent report that was supported by County Council that will be sent to the province. Liz Buckton, who we all remember well, presented the growth management status update as prepared by Hempson. The study makes growth projections for the next 25 years up to 2051. The prediction for Meaford is that we will be the second slowest growing municipality in the county. And I think we would all probably disagree that will not likely be the case, but that is the current prediction. The report suggests that we will grow with 2,570 new residents, 1,070 new residential units, and 1,170 jobs. So I'd love to be around in 2051 to see how accurate this prediction is. In any event, that would take us to a population of 14,430 people. Hanover and West Grey have reached an agreement through an MOU process to adjust their boundaries, and this one is a really big deal. West Grey will provide 1,634 acres to Hanover, which is will allow Hanover some developable land. Hanover will pay West Grey $10 million in increments of $500,000 a year for 10 years. Any landowners who are involved in this will be able to continue to farm or operate in any way that they currently are. They will not be forced to provide their lands for growth purposes. And we also discussed the MOUs that Mayor Kentner spoke to earlier, that Director of Development, Tourism and Culture, Savannah Myers, brought forward. And I will just suggest that I look forward to hearing about this from our own staff, because I think this is a really wonderful way of taking advantage of the incredible expertise at the economic development level at the county. And I think there's nothing but potential and opportunities for us through this process to work together. And that's it, Mr. Mayor, unless you had anything to add.
No, thank you so much. That's excellent. Did the strengthening our community advice?
Could I ask the deputy mayor a question
Absolutely, sorry.
concerning, thank you, through you, the deputy mayor, you mentioned the Grey County-wide library services. Now, I don't know if this is just in its infancy, but I was just wondering if you knew who might be involved in the discussion process there. I assume all the libraries, but it's maybe, well, it's very important to our municipality, maybe even more so, is that our contract agreement with the Union Library in Owen Sound comes up for review next fall, and so it might involve that that type of situation.
If I may follow up, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Greenfield, yes, certainly. This is just the very, very early stage of this discussion. I do sit on the Shared Services Committee, so I'll be able to report back on this conversation. But if we look at the proposed waste management review, and County Council has approved $250,000 to undertake that study, I think that'll take some time, and I think this will be similar because, yes, all the library boards will have to be consulted, municipalities, staff and councils would have to be consulted. It will be a long process, but I think a worthwhile one if there is any potential of financial efficiencies to be found in the operation of these facilities. I just think as we look at our budgets, which we will see within the next month or so, there's going to be an awful lot of budget pressures, and I think we have to be open to opportunities to collaborate with other municipalities and our upper tier to just try to find savings wherever we can.
Did the Strengthening Our Community Advisory Committee meet? Oh, good.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. We had at the Strengthening our Community Advisory Committee, we had a presentation from the 55 Plus Club as well as the Meaford Rotary House. And both of these groups, I would say, serve very important functions in our community. As a member, a former member of the Meaford Rotary Club, I know how committed that specific group of volunteers are to provide a direct service to the community and provide a space for other essential services. And having followed the 55 Plus Club's functions and other times that they've come to council, it's obvious that the same is true there. Both groups had made some comments about things that the community could do to help them. And despite having different operations, it appears that their needs are largely pretty similar. And for the most part, it seems that the biggest one, obviously, aside from everybody and including the municipality, would be funding and things like that. But as well as increasing visibility through efforts like promotion could make a great difference to them. And we'd sort of loosely discussed that with the municipality's website redesign and probably aligned social media programming, that we might have some opportunities there that they can participate in. The Meaford Rotary Club also made special mention of their event, The Coldest Night of the Year, which is to be held on February 28th, 2026, if I wrote it down correctly. And this fundraiser is a key contributor to their operations. We also discussed the wrap-up and the dissolution of the committee. And it was felt that a committee like the Strengthening Our Community Advisory Committee is looking at issues that tie into all kinds of municipal functioning and the creation of ideas, and just trying to make sure that everybody in the community is doing things as well as we can for each other. So with sort of that thought in place, the committee is really well prepared and ready to give candid, direct, and well-considered recommendations that hopefully will be of great use to staff, current council, and future council. The committee would like to find opportunities to hear from a bunch of different demographic groups if possible. I mean, we're on a tight timeline, but if we can hear from youth groups and things like that, to try and understand how that they can be effectively recruited, participate regularly, and give input, like if they were to join advisory committees, so that they can bring their unique insights and we can put things in action. That's all.
Thank you. Any other boards or committees meeting recently? Okay, then I'm ready for a motion to move out of committee of the whole at 3:07 p.m. Have a mover and seconder. Councillor Yerick and Deputy Mayor Keaveney, thank you. All in favor? And we'll move on to councillor motions. Are there any notices of motion? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do a notice of motion to direct staff to look into a dedication of a veterans crosswalk. The location and the design and that design will not have the image of a poppy, is to be determined, and seeking sponsorship for the funding of that sidewalk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now I see no other notices of motion. We have a motion for decision today, and I'm going to call on Councillor Urick. And you want to sit back and just take it easy here while he reads the following motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I know this is a rather long one, but it is of important stature, so bear with me. The recommendation reads, whereas the Conservation Authorities Act enables municipalities to establish local conservation authorities, and when municipalities choose to form such authorities, they assume responsibility for governance and funding through the appointment of a board of directors and the provision of an annual levy to cover expenses. And whereas the municipalities within Grey and Bruce counties established the North Grey Region Conservation Authority in 1957 and the Sauble Valley Conservation Authority in 1958, which amalgamated into the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority, GSCA, in 1985. And whereas local municipalities currently provide approximately 44% of total GSCA funding, while the province of Ontario provides approximately 7%. And whereas municipalities have governed their respective conservation authorities for decades, tailoring programs and services to local watershed needs, maintaining accountable service standards, and ensuring fair and predictable costs for ratepayers. And whereas conservation authorities collectively own and manage thousands of hectares of land, much of which was donated or sold by local residents and entrusted to conservation authorities as a personal legacy for long-term protection, stewardship, and the public good, with the expectation that such lands would be cared for by locally governed conservation authorities. And whereas Bill 68, Schedule 3 proposes the creation of the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency, whose objects include overseeing conservation authorities and the transition to a regional watershed-based framework for conservation authorities in Ontario, with municipal cost contribution yet to be defined. And whereas the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks has posted environmental registry notice number 025-1257, bracket proposed boundaries for the regional consolidation of Ontario's conservation authorities, close bracket, proposing to reduce Ontario's 36 conservation authorities to 7 regional entities as part of a broader restructuring. And whereas under this proposal, the Grey Sauble Conservation Authority would be consolidated into a new Huron Superior Regional Conservation Authority that is over 23,000 square kilometers in size and consists of 80 municipalities. And whereas the province already has the authority to establish overreaching legislation, regulations, and standards through the Conservation Authorities Act and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to address issues related to permitting by establishing guidance, online permitting platforms, and technical standards through legislation that could help build homes. And whereas the GSCA has already undertaken significant modernization work aligned with provincial objectives, including information technology, information management, and leveraging technology to streamline planning and permit review processes, processing 100% of major permits within the provincial timelines in 2024. Therefore, be resolved that the municipality of Meaford calls on the government of Ontario to maintain local, independent, municipally governed, watershed-based conservation authorities to ensure strong local representation in decisions related to municipal levies, community focused service delivery, and the protection and management of conservation lands. And be it further resolved that the municipality of Meaford does not support the proposed Huron Superior Regional Conservation Authority boundary configuration outlined in Environmental Registry Notice 025-1257, as the proposal lacks sufficient justification, would significantly diminish local governance, and fails to recognize the effectiveness and efficiencies already achieved within existing watershed-based models. And be it further resolved that the municipality of Meaford affirms that large-scale regional consolidation is unnecessary, would introduce substantial transition costs, and would divert resources away from frontline watershed programs. The council further asserts that restructuring at this scale would erode local decision-making, weaken municipal accountability, and disrupt long-standing community partnerships that are central to delivering responsive watershed management. And be it further resolved that while the municipality of Meaford supports provincial goals for consistent permit approval processes, shared services, and digital modernization, imposing a new top-down approach structure without strong local accountability and governance risks creating unnecessary cost, red tape, and bureaucracy, thereby undermining efficiency and responsiveness to local community needs. And be it further resolved that the municipality of Meaford urges the province to strengthen centralized standards, resources, and tools rather than undertaking broad structural amalgamation, and to provide sustainable, predictable provincial funding across conservation authorities to enable local CAs to advance ongoing digitization and systemization work that has already resulted in improved efficiency and consistency in recent years. Be it further resolved that the municipality of Meaford believes that the province's proposed new online permitting portal can be implemented within the existing Conservation Authority framework without requiring structural amalgamation. And be it further resolved that the municipality of Meaford requests that the ministry engage meaningfully and collaboratively with affected municipalities, conservation authorities, and local First Nations before advancing any consolidation to ensure that any changes reflect both local needs and the practical realities of implementation. And be it further resolved that this resolution be included in the municipality's ERO response and forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, all of Ontario's municipalities, MPPs, conservation authorities, AMO, and Conservation Ontario. I'm going home. Anybody miss any of that?
So, did we get a seconder for your motion?
Hopefully now.
Okay, Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? You know it all now, but anyway.
Yeah, I just, in the clause towards the end, the second to last, be it further resolved, says, and local First Nations, and I would just like to see that say, First Nations, I mean, wording to be chosen, but First Nations and or other Indigenous communities. First Nations is a specific, grouping of Indigenous communities. So if we could represent that, that would be great.
Yeah.
Deputy, sorry, Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, thank you, Councillor Urick. I'm exhausted just listening to you. It's an all-inclusive notice of motion as it needs to be. This is I look at this as an invasion by the province on conservation authorities and especially smaller rural municipalities. I'm hoping it's too early in a game that gets discontinued, but has there been any talk about sale of conservation authority properties? Of course, look at our municipality that has 3 waterfront properties, namely Christie Beach, Ainslie Wood, and Highbury. And do we have any idea where this might end?
The real short answer is no, because these questions have all been asked at very many different levels governmentally. There's been a lot of lobbying from Conservation Ontario. It's interesting, Rome is coming up in AMO, and of course, they'll be a little late to the game on this because it's already reached what it said. But the reality is, as much as they say that conservation authorities will remain whole in terms of their current staffing, how that's going to true out in terms of assets, nobody knows. Because you're right. So what happens when we're now 80 municipalities are going to be amalgamating and making decisions about divesting land. So Barrie, Thunder Bay, Richmond Hill, Newmarket are going to be making decisions about whether or not Christie Beach is, relevant to our area and could be, divested or whatever. It's really frustrating that there is no direction or input coming from any upper level, governmental level, that's giving any indication of what this is going to look like. And particularly from a governance and particularly from a management and a funding perspective. And that's why I will applaud, this is rather lengthy, but the CAOs are really trying to encourage the municipalities to have more of a voice in this, because it's the CAs that are right now that are making most of the noise. But at the end of the day, we pay 44% of that salary, and that is definitely going to go up. We're also going to have to pay more. We're talking about budgeting, but there's now another agency. There's another level of bureaucracy. When there will be another level of management in there, we're going to have to pay for that. What happens when at GSCA staff aren't making as much as Newmarket is, but now they're under the same body? So when you're all of a sudden going to have wage parity happening, all of a sudden that's going to go up, and that's going to impact our levy. So, and there is zero transparency in what that's going to look like. So no, the short answer was no. That was a long answer.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll look to Councillor Urick as chair of the GSCA to correct me if I'm wrong, but the province has already passed this bill. This is going to happen. So your motion suggesting that you call on the government to maintain municipally owned watershed-based conservation authorities and so on. So are you looking for the province to rescind or this motion, I guess, was written before the bill passed the end of November, the 27th, I believe that happened. So just want to pick your brain and be clear that in your mind, this is still the best language to submit to the province and work within the ERO process to make suggestions, recommendations for better ways to make things work. Because again, the board, as I understand, is only to be 5 to 7 members. So that pretty good chance that, our area won't be represented, won't have a voice. So I think those are the important points to focus on to go forward to the ministry. So just wanted to get your thoughts.
So the clarification, I think, of why, and this specifically comes kind of as a blanket from kind of our whole area, is moreover why we're still trying to do this is because the one piece of wiggle room there may still be is when you're playing poker, you're going to bluff high when you go in. They're saying amalgamate 36 down to 7. There seems to be some of the middle legislators who are saying there may be wiggle room that might go from 36 to 7 to 36 to 14, and it might make some of the larger conservation authorities that they're proposing be not as large of amalgamations. So this is trying to drive home the fact that these are all individual entities that are doing a good job, that could actually still do a good job and be legislated to meet the mandates that they want to achieve. You don't have to amalgamate them all together. So, and again, as much as they're going in high, we're going in low and saying, let's ask for as few amalgamations as possible, and they're asking as many, and hopefully somewhere it meets in the middle. In terms of your 5 to 7 comment, that's going to be the agency. We have no idea what that 80 municipalities, what that board's going to look like. Who knows how many are going to be on that? If there is a board, we don't even know if there is a board of directories, and whether there's going to be advisory committees from each individual area under that. Once again, we have zero transparency on what that's going to look like. So again, if you're making a decision on a small rural base geography, how is Chatsworth really going to stand out against Thunder Bay and Newmarket? It's just, so yeah, this is really strongly worded to try and get the message out that there is a lot of concern and dissatisfaction with the whole process.
Anyone else wish to comment? I could preach a whole sermon here. because I think Mr. Ford is looking more like Mr. Trump than himself. My concern is that this opens the door for privatization of local facilities that were basically been supported by local populations for a long time, and we could end up losing those to private operators. And anyway, I'm done. Um, anything more? I like say we need to vote on this, get it on its way. So all in favor?
Thank you, through your worship. We've treated that as a friendly amendment, so we'll just integrate that in.
Okay, thank you.
As well.
All in favor? And that is passed unanimously. Thank you. We've got a recommendation that be it resolved, Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopts the minutes of the council meeting
Mr.
held.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I have a motion as well.
Oh, you do so. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the good news is this one is much shorter. And it is entitled Loans for the Purpose of Doctor Recruitment and Retention. The recommendation, whereas the municipality of Meaford, like many other communities, is struggling to attract and retain family physicians and supporting ancillary services. And whereas thousands of residents in our municipality either rely on a physician in a community hours away or have no access to a family physician at all, and lack of effectiveness of the provincial Health Connect system. Whereas this shortage of family physicians places additional burden on the emergency department at Bright Shores Health System, Meaford. And whereas many other communities are offering significant incentives to attract physicians in an increasingly competitive recruitment environment. And whereas the availability of medical office space is important to successful recruitment and retention of family physicians. And whereas the Bumpstead Medical Clinic is currently fully occupied and unable to accommodate additional practitioners, therefore be it resolved that the municipality of Meaford Council directs staff to develop a program to provide low interest or zero interest conditional loans up to $100,000 for the sole purpose of doctor recruitment and retention, specifically for those that provide office space for family physicians and ancillary services such as nurse practitioners. And I would just say, Your Worship, I know the first question that will be asked is, where's this money going to come from? And the recommendation is that it come from our working capital. And I'll leave it to you then to ask for a seconder.
Yes, is there a seconder for her motion? Councillor Bell, thank you. Discussion? Okay, Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Shirley, I think that this has been a topic of your endeavors since you were first elected back in 2014. I can remember when it was Mayor Klumpus, you can say how many external groups that you were involved with on this very subject matter: doctors, retention, nurse practitioners. And I'm very happy to support you in this. This can only do one thing: make this community stronger and better. Thank you for your past work, and I fully support this today. Thank you.
Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Deputy Mayor. I'm reading this providing office space for family physicians and ancillary services, and I'm totally in support of this. To me, providing office space is, correct me if I'm wrong, looking at rent or lease. I wonder if construction renovations to provide office space, could that be included in this? Because there is office space available in our municipality, but it's not necessarily conducive to a medical practice. So I'm wondering if there was some way of bringing renovation costs into this, either directly or indirectly, because that would lead to the attraction of a medical practice.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Greenfield, for your comments, because yes, that is absolutely included in the intention of this motion, that any activity that would provide a ready office space, because the reality, as I know it, with the rare exception, is that a young doctor comes out of medical school with massive debt. And if we were lucky enough to find one of those who would commit him or herself to setting up a practice in Meaford, then the first thing they've got to do is have a space. And there's considerable expense involved in that, in securing the space, and they most likely would have to renovate it and then set it up with equipment. And the reality is it can take up to 6 months for that doctor under the current FO system to start to receive funds back, because you don't put out a shingle and immediately you're rich. It takes a lot of time to get set up with OHIP and to get those invoices submitted and to start to get payments coming back. So in that interim period, it would greatly help any new doctor to our area to have a ready office space. So and I appreciate very much Councillor Bell's comments in the, the research and the work that I've done. That's one thing I've learned, is that having a space available for a doctor is a great tool to attract someone to our area. So I appreciate your comments.
Councillor Ennis?
Thank you very much. And through you, Mr. Mayor, question to Sean. But first, obviously, we need to do something. So, but I'm just curious, when we were discussing improvement plan, we talked about, there was some notes about municipality not being well structured to support loans. So I'm just curious about what that would mean for this purpose. Just, yeah, looking for some.
Thank you for the questions, you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Ennis. So when it comes to physician and physician recruitment and retention, there is the ability, because they are not a profit center per se. And this being a loan, really the only question that council would have to entertain would be at what interest rate you would like to set, and whether it be a low interest or zero interest. But it is becoming very much somewhat the norm for municipalities to start being creative of how to recruit. And having the loan registered on title, so then that way, if the individual left, we would be made whole. All of those conditions would have to be part of the agreement. So it does give us the opportunity to be able to be flexible that way. And again, it's a matter of what the term of that loan is. Ideally, we'd want to have a pretty quick turnaround on the loan. But when it comes to that physician recruitment retention, there is that flexibility.
Excellent.
Councillor Yorick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I have no problem supporting this. There was an article in the Star actually a week ago, which I had forwarded to Deputy Mayor, and literally it said it is right now the Hunger Games out there for doctors. Municipalities all over Ontario are doing exactly this. It's getting to the point where if you don't do this, the only way you're going to get the retention is if by some miracle they find you and like you by happenstance. People are soliciting and approaching and going out and securing, so we have to do the same.
So are you ready for the vote? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we have a recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford hereby adopt the minutes of the council meeting held on December 1st, 2025, and the closed meeting held on December 1st, 2025. A mover and seconder, Councillor Bell and Councillor Greenfield. Thank you. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Is there anything on the communications agenda anyone wishes to bring up? Then anything on the correspondence list? If not, we are going to move into a closed session. And I'll just tell you that the recommendation is, be it resolved that Council of the Municipality of Meaford does now go into a closed session at 3:33 p.m. with the CAO and clerk in attendance to discuss one matter regarding the proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality or local board, and that is under the open meeting exemption of C of Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, respecting donation of property to the municipality. I need a mover and a seconder to move into the committee, or at least into a closed session. Councillor Urick and Councillor Ennis, thank you. And we will return at the conclusion of the meeting to report out. So we need a vote. All in favor? Sorry. We're just reporting out of the closed meeting at 3:46 PM. Present were the CAO and clerk to discuss a matter regarding the proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality or local board under the open meeting exemption C of Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001, respecting donation of property to the municipality. And with that, we've got one more item, a confirming bylaw. The recommendation is be it resolved that bylaw 2025-79 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Meaford be taken as read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Mover and a seconder, Councillor Greenfield and Deputy Mayor Keaveney, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. And with that, I'll declare this afternoon's meeting adjourned.